Hi, this is Kamera again. We're on day number 252, Ezekiel chapter 31 through 33. Ezekiel, prophet of God, appointed by God to deliver messages from God to nations. Today's read, we see where God has given Ezekiel a message to deliver to Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And the message is, who do you compare yourself to be, or what type of tree do you compare yourself to be? And he mentions something like Assyria. Assyria was known to be a very strong tree, a very fruitful tree, a very tall tree, and the roots were deeply rooted in fertile soil. No other tree were as beautiful, it says. It was the envy of all. Egypt. We're talking about Egypt. Egypt being this big, great, beautiful place. No other place could compare to Egypt. But Egypt became proud and arrogant. God says, I will hand over the Egypt to other nations, to a mighty nation. He said, let the tree of no other nation proudly exalt itself of its own prosperity. If they do, they are doomed. So God does not like pride. He doesn't. If we get anything, it's because God allowed us to get it. He blessed us with it. He opened doors for us to get it. He gave us the energy, the mind, the favor, whatever it took. God allowed us to get it. And because he allowed us to get it, we got it. If he said, no, I don't want you to have it, you're not getting it. I don't want you to have the energy. I don't want you to have the thought. I don't want you to get the favor. So anything we have, we owe that to God. And so Egypt became very proud. He says, all the nations who lived in Egypt's shadows and his allies, they were all destroyed. This is what he's telling him. And they passed away. He says, you will be brought down like them. Yeah, just like an outcast. You're going to die among them, those other outcasts. So he tells Pharaoh, he tells the people to mourn for Pharaoh. And he says he tells Ezekiel to mourn for Pharaoh. And he gives this message to Pharaoh. You think you are as strong as a lion. Isn't that something? But this is the thing, guys. What I'm reading, I'm just reading certain points. There's a lot God said about Pharaoh and about Egypt. I'm just pointing out certain things. He says, I will leave you, Pharaoh, stranded in your own land, and wild animals will devour you. Yeah, they're going to gorge themselves on you. And the sword of Babylon is going to be on Egypt. Isn't that something? He says, when I destroy Egypt, and strip her of everything she owned and strike down every person, you will know that I am God. And that is the thing, guys. God is God over all nations, whether you believe it or not. And I believe God let them know before this point here that he is God. God says he takes no pleasure in the death of the wicked. He doesn't. He does not take any pleasure. So what he does is he reaches out and he warns, and if you read it, it's like he's begging them to just turn from their wicked ways, but they don't. And so there's consequences. And so, yeah, he said he has he doesn't have any joy destroying the wicked at all. So he says, weep for Egypt and other nations. They will be dragged away in their judgment, to their judgment. And he mentions some of the other nations by name, like Edom and Assyria and Elam, and he says they will be slaughtered. Yeah, and you know what he mentioned in today's lesson with these other nations that they terrorized the people. They terrorized the people. That's what he said, because those nations, those different areas, they terrorized the people. They were going to be destroyed. Then he talks to Ezekiel about a watchman. A watchman is a person who basically security. If they see that there's something that is about to happen, they need to warn the people so that they can prepare for it. If that watchman does not warn the people, then he is responsible for the death of the people. But if he warned them and they do not um, listen and prepare and they die, that's on them. So he tells Ezekiel again, you are I'm appointing you as a watchman. When I give you something to give to the people, you need to give it to them. If I speak death and destruction to the people and they hear it, and no, and you don't tell them, then you and they die, then you are responsible for their death. If you tell them and they turn from their wicked ways, their evil ways, then you are free and clear. So yeah, talks about that. And then also Ezekiel says that someone ran to him. I guess they escaped the fall of Jerusalem, and they told him, he heard them calling out that the city has fallen. And so, yeah, we pretty much know that. And so you have the people talking about the land. Abraham was one man, he owned all the land, and we should possess it. And so God is like, you deserve to possess this land. You guys are into everything against what I told you to do, and you really do feel like you deserve to possess this land. That's a good point, God. If he's going to give it to you, he wants you to live on the way he told you to live, which is to honor him and to respect everyone around you and respect what he's blessed you with. Not take what he's given you and create your own idols and conform to the world and do what they do by serving these idols and being unkind to one another. Actually, they be wicked to one another. So he says, he's telling Ezekiel that, see, the people, they come to listen to Ezekiel. And so he tells Ezekiel that the people, when they come to talk to you or to listen to you, they're not really listening to you to learn from you. They think you're entertaining, like a person who sings a beautiful song or play a beautiful instrument. You entertain them. They don't sincerely listen to you to turn from their ways. Yeah. Isn't that terrible? Wow. He says, but get this. He said, when all these things come to pass, what I told you, then then they'll know that there was a prophet among them. Isn't that something? People take God for granted. People take what God says for granted. Yeah, we are responsible, guys. We need to take the time to really get to know God for ourselves. That way we don't take him lightly. We don't take what he says lightly. You're hurting your own selves when you do. You just are. And so, so Ezekiel, they're not really listening to you. They just think you're entertaining. And he probably don't even get upset about that. That's on them. Anyway, there you have it, guys. That's day number 252, Ezekiel chapter 31 through 33. You have a God-filled blessed day.